Welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob, and I'm the host of this one-man show. I never thought we would get to this day, but today's finally here. And by that I mean I am finally going to give you guys a review of A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. And yeah, so I finished it. I literally finished it today, which is the day I'm recording it is today is the 9th of June. And yeah, I said I think in my last episode that I might give you guys a review if I finish it on time, and guess what? I ended up finishing it and I am here. This is probably one of the most I don't want to say taxing, but it's like one of the most complicated episodes I've ever written notes for. Recently I haven't been writing notes actually for my episodes because I've been just spitting just random things out of my mouth and that's it. But this one I had to, and I knew that I had to write something about it because it's such an extensive book and an important, honestly, an important read that I have gone through. And I have to say this, after reading almost 800 pages of this book, I can say safely that this is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. So yeah, I'll get into a little bit of a review. I'll do a little bit of a summary of it. I'll get into some of the things that I liked, some of the things that I didn't necessarily like, and I'll get also into a bit of a, when I give my opinions, I'll probably get into some spoilers as well. So, but the first part of the review will be, of course, spoiler free, so you guys can, for those who are interested actually in reading it, that you guys can go ahead and skip the end, the other half, basically, because I'm gonna speak a lot about it. But yeah, so but before we get into that, of course, as usual, songs of the week. So I have, of course, started my June playlist, and of course you can check it out on Spotify. It's simple, just search my name, and you'll be able to find my playlist, actually all my playlists, also not only the Overshare pamphlets playlists of the songs of the week for each month, but also other random playlists that I make a lot of playlists, so yeah, just look out for those. We're in June, so I'm making the playlist for this month, and I want to start off this week with some interesting tracks that I've this week has been very very prolific in terms of music. I have, of course, expanded my liked songs even more, but also because I've been sharing a lot of song recommendations with my friends. One of my friends specifically, he shares a lot of songs with me now. We're starting to share a lot of songs, and we built playlist separately. So now we've been sharing songs. It's been an incredible journey. So I've been listening to more stuff as well. Just been getting into a lot of that. Plus also discovering songs as I usually do, which is just creating random ass playlists and just going through the recommendations. So the first song I want to talk about is Sick of Him by Gua. This track is, I believe she's Korean, even though I could be wrong, but some of the other songs she has are in Japanese. I could be wrong, but I think this track specifically is in Korean. She's really, really good. It's giving a little bit of that New Jeans production, in a way. Not really. It's a bit more, I would say, even more indie in a way, but I personally love it. It's a very addictive track. Really liked it. Very captivating, very cutesy, but also fierce lyrics. If you like that sort of production, then this is for y'all, for real. Then I want to put in Perfect Pace by Asha Imuno and Amaria. That song is also very like, you know, I would say this is like very R&B, but like, chill. Well, it is R&B, I guess, yeah, but it's a very chill song, very moody. If you wanna like, listen to this while you're like reading, it's also a perfect track to do that too. So, um, yeah, and Asha Imuno, I don't know much about this artist, but I do have another song by them that I knew, um, and hasn't failed me yet. So, yeah, Perfect Pace, very vibey, R&B adjacent, very cute. Um, you know, I like it. It's very very moody, very vibey. Just the stuff that I personally really enjoy listening to. So that is definitely something that guys should like go and listen to. I want to quickly mention also Paul Grange. Paul Grange, he's honestly I think he was in Elite, the Netflix show. But and then these songs, well, this song specifically, I discovered it like roughly probably a year ago. Listened to it so many times, but I don't know why I just got back into it again. I think probably the shuffle on Spotify just brought me there again. But then I've been re-listening to it constantly now, and it's called "No te bastó mi corazón," which is a track from his 2022, I think, album called Amor Escupido. And this track is just, it's sort of like a ballad ish type of track. Very like acoustic guitar heavy. Incredible voice. Paul Grant, I love his voice so much. It's very emotional, very communicative in that sense. And it's about, of course, your heart being not enough for one person, you not being enough for another person, and also at the same time having that difficult, experience of trying to get away from this person, but you know damn well you cannot, or at least in this moment you are, you know, it's not possible for you to get away from them. You would just want to be at them, attached to them, and like close to them. And he uses this very, I like it a lot. Like, it's very effective metaphor that is also so, I don't want to say like so Gen Z, so millennial coded, but it's like very current. I would say he says like, I want to be the chewing gum to your Martens, so the Dr. Martens shoes. Like, stuck to you, I want to be trampled by you, but like also stuck to you all the time. That's like some sort of like toxic way of thinking, but very relatable. Like, them all, this like you're not this person's I don't want to say taste, like you're not in their taste, but it's not that specifically. You're not, you're never gonna be enough for this person. This person's never gonna give you what you want, but you still feel like this sort of obligation and like attraction towards them. And yeah, so incredible track. Let's just say incredible track. So yeah, Paul Grant, fuck it up, bitch. Then we finally have Close to You by Gracie Abrams. It came out finally after what, 7 years or something. She first posted like a snippet, I think in 2016 or something, and yeah, and here it is. She's with us now, so I am so glad that we got this track finally. It's very Lord coded, very synthy, very I have to be honest, the song, like, lyrically, the chorus is really good. The verses are okay, I guess, but it's just the melody of the track, the vocal performance, I guess, that is like really captivating to me, and it's very catchy, and it just really reminds me of like melodrama Lord in that sense. Um, so yeah, if you go on TikTok, many people would probably say, "Good enough, welcome back, Lord," to this track. So that's the vibe you're getting from this. But it's it went viral on TikTok not too long ago, and it went viral again before its release. So, and it's definitely like a great track. I think it's one of the best tracks for the summer. Like, it's such a summery track as well. Like, perfect for the summer. So check it out. Um, Probably gonna leave that song in there. Um, how many songs is it? I'm already at 4 tracks, but Okay, maybe. Oh, shoot. Well, you know what? I don't fucking care. I've had so many songs this week. I need to talk about them. Charlie XCX dropped Brat, of course, on Friday. Favorite track? Probably Apple. Apple might be one of my favorite tracks. I have to be honest, this album I thought it was gonna be more clubby. There are some depressing ass songs on this album, so yikes, love it, but also don't. I just want to have a good time, and now like I'm questioning my life. So Apple, very good track, still in, like on on up up to par with like the rest of the singles. Very cool, very EDM-y, very hyper poppy, very cool stuff. Then we have Please 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 by Sabrina Carpenter from her upcoming album, um, produced surprisingly by Jack Antonoff, and this song is very I don't know what it reminds me of, but it's like, of course, always very 70s and 80s, like usual Bleachers type of vibe, but also it's so well fitting with Sabrina's sound that she gave us before, like specifically on Emails I Cannot Stand Anymore. So that's an incredible track. The music video, incredible. She has her boyfriend actor, Kyogan, whatever, what is his name? Whatever. They're doing a full, like, Bonnie and Clyde situation, and just like, please don't embarrass the fuck out of me. Please don't be like the other guys, and all this stuff. Just incredible vibe. Production 180 as always, because Jack is talented. You cannot deny him that. So, yeah. And just love the vibe of the song. Is like also kind of summery, because well, that's gonna be the sound, the sound of the album itself, I assume, because like Express is gonna be in there as well. So, period. Um, and then, oh my god, I have so many. You know what? I'm just gonna mention this one and that's it. Fluid by Necta. I don't fucking know anything about this person, this track in general. It's just very. It's a Korean artist. Found it very randomly. This girl has probably like what, like 20K listeners monthly, or even less than that. I don't know. Like, oh, maybe not even that. But the song slaps. It's very R&B adjacent, but also almost danceable in that sense. Like it's a dance track in a way. Um, oh yeah, she has less than 2K monthly. So I don't fucking know how I got through her. I think it was one of my playlists. I think I was like looking through the recommendations, and I kept on refreshing, and then I found the cover art, which was very captivating to me, and I was like, you know what, let me give it a listen. And it was some of the best, you know, unknown indie K-pop artists. And it's not, no, sorry, it's not even K-pop, because it's not K-pop. It's just pure bliss. But yeah, go listen to this. Please give it a chance. He only has 10K of listens, like the song itself, and she has less than 2K monthly listeners. So yeah, bitch, give it a listen. Um, but that's it. I'm gonna limit myself and just stop blabbing, because we have a lot to chat about, and also because I don't want to. I would have more tracks, but I'm just gonna limit myself to these, which are already quite a few. Normally I would just put like 4 songs, 3 songs or something like that, but I've been a bit too generous, we all. So but I really think these are all worth it, so please do go and listen. Anyways, yes. Well, yes. Actually, let me grab my water, because a girl, a girl needs some water. Because I'm gonna speak. I'm gonna be like yapping for a long time. So we need that lubrication. Ew. What the fuck? Why did I say that? But anyways, trying to be as positive as I can, because we're getting into some very depressing content in like literally 2 seconds. But yes, I bought this book, and I was like, everyone says it's like one of the most depressing books ever. How depressing can it be? Like, it cannot be that bad, right? Oh, I'm telling you, the moment I started like reading this, and the moment I started posting on it on my stories on Instagram, so many of my friends started like sending me good luck messages, saying like, good luck with this. If you think it's getting bad, don't worry, it will get even worse. Bad in the sense of like emotional um you know distress. So And yeah, they were absolutely right, absolutely 100%. Like my friends are always right, and it was depressing as shit, and it was really painful to read and to finish. But I still think it's one of the best books I've ever read, like I've ever read, and I've ever experienced in a way, because it's a full journey, a full journey. Um, and to be quite frank, I don't think like I read something like this before. Like it's so in such an extensive way, I would say. But I'll draw some comparisons literally right now. But um, yeah, imagine for example perks of being a wallflower, the perks of being a wallflower, but make it way longer, way more disturbing, way more sad, way more graphic, way more violent, way more revealing, and just in general more extensive in total. I would say like just an extensive book about trauma, about all of it. So yeah, but that's the category I want you to think about first. That's the book like that I'm using as a reference, even though it's not remotely even like comparable, because this is such a more sophisticated read, I would say, of course. But I still think, well, I still like The Person Being a Wallflower a lot. It was one of my favorite books when I was a teenager. A teenager. Oh my god, I feel so bad saying that. But yes. So yeah, depending on which version you read, the book can actually reach more than 800 pages. The version I have is Shutterstock. I'm not really sure, but it's paperback, and it's mine reaches 720 pages, but it's written in such a small fucking font that I just had to, you know, really get close to the book, I guess, to read it. But it's like tiny, 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 tiny font. So this is one recommendation. If you have to go for it, just get a hard copy. What is it called? Like hard cover, which I think is the one that has 800 pages or something. Much better. I've seen the prints are much larger. At least that's that, I guess. But yeah. So already very extensive book, very big. Um, it took me exactly 2 months to read it all. I started on the 10th of April. I've been tracking it on Storygraph, which is an app that recommends me books and all that stuff. So I started on the 10th of April and I finished today, which is the 9th of June. So yeah, exactly 2 months, I would say. Um, and I know for some people might be a long time to read a book, but I am generally, first of all, a slow reader. I like to play cool. I like to play safe. I like to take notes on the book. Actually, I've taken on this one so many notes. I have so many bookmarks. It's actually insane. Um, and then I also consume a lot of other forms of entertainment. So sometimes I simply don't feel like I am in a headspace to read at all. I just would rather do or watch uh, something than actually get into a book. I work. I stay on a computer like more than 8 hours a day at times. So I just sometimes don't have the energy to read anything. So yeah, but this surprisingly, I think if in 2 months actually not too bad. I guess I could have easily finished it earlier. I guess, but I like to take my time. And on top of that, of course, and I think even more importantly for this book, I also find myself to take I found myself taking a break from it every now and then. Like that, I had this need to just step away from it because it simply is that disturbing at times. It's very raw, very emotional, and literally, I had to close it sometimes and be like, this is too much for me. I need to stop. I need to get away from it. I need to do something else. I need to distract myself because it's like really dark and um, very emotional. So, but I'm aware that speaking like this, you guys won't understand what the fuck I'm talking about. So let me actually read you guys the synopsis from my hard copy that I have right here, which actually is one of the reasons why I decided to read the book, because I read it and was like, this is one hell of a good synopsis. So there we go. When four classmates from a small Massachusetts college moved to New York to make their way, they're broke, adrift, and buoyed only on by their friendship and ambition. There's kind, handsome Willem, an aspiring actor, JB, a quick-witted, sometimes a cruel painter pursuing fame in an art world, Malcolm, a frustrated architect at a prominent firm, and withdrawn, brilliant, enigmatic Jude, who serves as their center of gravity. Now, before I continue on, this first part, when I first read it, was like, oh, cool, he's gonna be like about all four of them, an artist, JB, and then, an aspiring actor, Willem, and then Malcolm, an architect, and then Jude, a lawyer. The book is about that at the beginning specifically, but I think it's actually just simply about Jude and Willem. Like, JB and Malcolm are actually, they are, of course, two very important people in the story, but they are, I would say, way more marginal than I expected in a way. So, but just keep that in mind. But they are very prominent figures, of course, in the book, but you don't necessarily interact with them as much as, of course, Willem and Jude. Those are really the two main characters. Jude is, of course, the main character, but Willem is also a very central part of the entire story. So yeah, let me keep going. Over the decades, their relationships deepen and darken, tinged by addiction, success, and pride. Yet their greatest challenge each comes to realize is Jude himself. By midlife, a terrifyingly talented lawyer, yet an increasingly broken man, his mind and body scarred by an unspeakable childhood, and haunted by a degree of trauma that he fears he will not only be unable to overcome, but that will define his life forever. In a novel of extraordinary intelligence and heart, Yanagihara has fashioned a masterful depiction of heartbreak and a dark and haunting examination of the tyranny of experience and memory. Hanya Yanagihara lives in New York City. And that's on period. But, yeah, so I read this and I was like, very interesting. We're talking about trauma then. We're talking about, scarred childhoods, and we're talking about, very disturbing stories. So, yes, that's, without like saying too much about it, this sort of the entire, story. It's a very interesting title as well, because it literally is like the story of a life, basically. You literally follow them, and specifically, as I said, Jude and Willem, from the beginning till the end, basically. You follow them in a very extensive way, of course. It goes like into a lot of details as well, and we just go through all the trial and tribulations of, well, mostly, well, I would say like some normal, I guess, like and relatable trials and tribulations, but also some very extreme circumstances as well, like some very extreme cases, and yeah. So very, very intriguing premise, I would say, and very relatable, especially I think for people who are in. I personally found it very intriguing because, like, I'm in my early 20s, and it resonated with me as soon as I read the synopsis, and I was like, you know what, let me give it a shot. I know it's long, I know it's like a challenge, but I'm up for it, and the content seemed very intriguing, and boy was it intriguing, boy was it revealing, and very, as I said, challenging to read. So yeah. Now, of course, it's a perfect place for me to just put up some disclaimers. The book contains a lot of violence, self-harm, deals with suicide, death, depression, sexual assault, and trauma in general, about any sort of trauma, to be fair. So yeah, keep that in mind if you want to embark on this journey. But yeah, there's a lot to take in and brace for. I didn't even know all of it before I got into the actual book. I knew some things, of course, from reviews and Storygraph recommendations, but yeah, I wish I could have braced myself a bit better before actually going into the book, into this whole 2-month experience, actually, which frankly gave me moments of depression, very low emotional points. Yeah, I have to say I also did not pick the book because of the virality they had on TikTok. Like TikTok really, book talk specifically, really championed this one and started pushing it. But I, oddly enough, my For You page does not have any book talk content on it, so I did not come across it. I rarely ever come across any book recommendations on TikTok. So the way I came about it, I think actually its moment has passed in a way. Like it was a thing maybe at the beginning of the year or like last year or something, but I just came across it through different reviews. I had it in my to read pile on Storygraph, and yeah. So yeah, I'm not reading to book talk, to be fair. I choose books in a very meticulous and at times very logical way, like very illogical. Like I literally sometimes pick books solely based when I'm like in a very difficult state when I don't know what to read. I'm not motivated. Like interested like by anything. I just go and pick a random book based on its cover, which honestly, surprisingly, braces a lot of benefits because you get a lot of unexpected stories and a lot of interesting facts and a lot of I just have this like very very bad habit of like looking for spoilers and like trying to get ahead of the story because I just want to know what happens, and I just ruin a book for myself all the time. So sometimes I just go like fully blind into a book that I know nothing about, but just was captivated by its cover. So yeah, this wasn't for this one, to be fair, because I did read the synopsis, as I said, but sometimes it does help. For me personally, like that's my very meticulous and illogical way of getting a book. But yeah, but I never once got a book recommended to me by TikTok, so don't get me twisted. um so yeah, now you may ask, why would you do this to yourself? Like, why would you specifically go for a book that is so heavy, so tough, so heartbreaking? um well, personally, because, well, I think the most, like, the first and foremost, like the most important explanation, I think, is because it's just me thing. Like, I think most of all, I've always been attracted to these type of books and these type of stories, and just in general, I am the type of person who enjoys feeling low. Enjoy in in quotation marks, but when I'm alone, specifically, I like to just sometimes um, consume this type of media, this type of like content. And by that I mean that I like feeling in touch with my emotions most of the times. The most vulnerable side, I just come to terms with it when I'm alone. And I prefer having these moments when I feel certain emotions. I like to sit sit in them. In that sense, like experience them and feel these more than pleasant emotions in a way, like and just basically naturally release them in this way. Um, I don't like distracting myself in that sense. Like if I feel a certain emotion, I prefer being alone and like get through it by reading stories like this or like watching some type of content like that, like experiencing it, relating to it, and or listening to certain songs. Like I don't know. It might sound weird, but it does help me a lot. I think it's mostly also because I am very bad at talking about my emotional state to other people, including my family and my friends. I'm not just like not very good at that. And I think this is a sort of personal coping mechanism that I've built for myself, um, like since I was little, I guess. But yeah, might definitely not be the healthiest method to cope with it, but it does surprisingly work for me. Like I like to just experience it by myself, which is not maybe the right thing to do, but I just like to just, release it, feel it, and just, feel miserable. But I am okay. To all my friends listening, I am okay. I'm doing great. Just know that I'm doing great. Uh, um, but yeah, I think also I find beauty and um, some sort of charm, I guess, in the lowest points of the human condition. I like seeing how far it stretches, how bad it can get, and how much better simply living can be from that point. From that point of view, like if life can get this bad, then I guess leading a normal life, like simply living, is already a great gift and a great, experience in itself. And I think you always have to experience very low points, or like understand the very low points of your life to just appreciate the higher ones even better, you know? So yeah, I don't know. Some people may find this very, very weird and very incomprehensible, but I don't know. Maybe it's just the way my brain works. I don't know. Yeah, but um, now I just want to talk more specifically about what I liked about the book, and yeah, this is the part where I'm gonna probably run into some spoilers, I guess. So keep listening at your own risk. So first of all, I want to talk about the plethora of subjects that are, discussed in a book. Of course, I don't have the like to go through the entire book. It would take me ages, so I'm just trying to be as short and sweet as I can. But among the many that I enjoyed, I think there's plenty of interesting moments that I enjoyed, and subjects specifically. Friendship is a very central point of the book, I would say. The power of any sort of relationship that is also platonic is the purest form of love as well. I just really loved seeing the dynamic between Willem, Jude, JB, Malcolm, and all of the other friends like Richard, Andy, all of those characters who like are also interconnected. Is just very, very, sweet, very nice to see, an incredible story, and it just makes you appreciate your friends so much more. I do like remember first time like I was going through the first main chapters. I was like, this really makes me miss my friends, even though like I see them very often. But I just like it really made me appreciate my dynamics that I built here and that I really enjoy. Oh my god, someone is like really shouting from the streets. Again, apologies for the window open, but it's just hot. I cannot do anything about it. So yeah, I would say the book reminded me so much also of my life here in London at times. Parties, large group of like friends, random encounters, like strangers you meet at a party, like going to house parties and getting to talk to different people, but also having this dynamics with like your close knit group of friends. Like if you're in a group of like plenty of people, you can like get cues from each other by simply looking at each other, like some small gestures, and you can pick up on your friend's vibe and know what they're feeling, what they want to do, if they want to leave, they want to stay. It's just all these like interesting things that you know I really look back on it and I'm like, oh, that's really so true. Like we also have the same sort of dynamics, and there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of like there's a lot of chat here in the book about like living in a big city and like having this like sense of being interconnected to so many people, and yet like having this very extensive net of communication and all that stuff and encounters is just very, very, very interesting, very, very like relatable, really resonated with me, and you know makes me look at my friendships even a more like in a better light, I guess, like even a better one. I'm more like I'm looking at them in a very fond way. So love all my friends, love all of y'all besties. So yeah, um, another subject is also I think probably that I really liked was the importance of like opening up and talking to other people, which is very ironic because I really said that I don't really do that, but this book really made me really appreciate it, and like specifically opening up to people that you know really care for you unconditionally, like in a very unbiased way. Like I know sometimes it's very like scary to open up and like have this fear of like making people run away from you because you're gonna be so vulnerable that they're not gonna like you anymore for who you are. But this book really teaches you that there are people who love you just because of like who you are, and they will do whatever they can to help you and to just be there for you. So yeah, I really like that. I really like that about the book, about how friendships here are so genuine. There are of course like chats about like people who just you randomly meet and who have other interests in you, but I think the more you know a person, the more you can learn if you can trust them or not, um, and how important it is to have these type of conversations to build even a deeper and more um, you know a more intimate connection with someone. Yeah, um, yeah. Um, Another you know storyline, or like another theme here, is the terrible experience of watching a person you love slowly and nearly hating himself. Now, this is specifically about, Jude. Of course, Jude is the main character who has had a very very traumatic, as I said, like very traumatic childhood, and you know you just see also the other characters helplessly trying to make him get better, but also you know knowing that he will never get better, and seeing how badly he gets the more the years pass by, and the more he hurts himself, and um, just has a lot of self-hatred as well. It's just like so difficult to process it, and to like make him look at himself the way you look at him. And yeah, so very very strong commentary on that here. I could relate to this as well, mostly family related, I guess, but I think you can all have some sort of experience like that. And even if you don't, I think it's just also a very compelling story just to just read and go through in that sense. But yeah, um, to that I want to link also the power of silence, or complicity, or just simply like non-action in that sense, like not acting at all, like simply staying still, and being too afraid to act and to help someone, or like loving someone so much but like being too afraid to do anything to save them. And at first I was very angry at the book for this, because I was like, how can you like let this happen? Like Willem and Harold specifically. um Willem is the actor, yeah, as like one of the main characters. He's Jude's best friend as well. Like they've been living together since they were 16 or something. So, and he's probably the closest person that Jude has in that sense. And Harold is a professor who ends up also adopting Jude. Um, and they are, I would say, the two of them are probably the um, biggest characters in Jude's life in that sense. The ones that love him like unconditionally, like as if they're like he's family to them. And yet, what really all these characters, including his other friends, have in common is the fact that they cannot, well, specifically in the first few stages of the book, they cannot act. They won't, force themselves to just, bring him, for example, into a hospital, or they won't force themselves to like put him on therapy. And yeah, as I said, like at first I was very angry about this, because I was like, how can you let this happen? How could you like let him, destroy himself, his body, and like his emotional state as well, like this much, without doing anything about it. And but the more I look back at the book, and the more I realize that it is a very nuanced topic in a way. It's not that easy to just like discount it in a way. First, I would say like not acting at times feels like the best option to avoid abandonment or separation from the person you love. I think most of these characters don't want to like do, like they're too afraid to act, because they know that he's already very fragile as a person, and they don't want him to snap even further. You know what I mean? So they think that his self-harm and all the coping mechanisms that he has are the only reasons why he's like staying alive in a way, and they don't want to like disrupt this flawed balance in a way, because they know that if they do, then he'll get exponentially worse, and he might do even something even worse to himself. So yeah, it's just crazy, I think. But I also still think that and also I think it's very difficult that I think you can really help someone. You cannot really help someone who does not want to get better in a way. Like they eventually also do try to help him, but it's also hopeless in a way, because he does not want to actually get better. Like he's so deep into that state, and like he's such an intricate human being that like to unravel the amount of trauma that he has, it's actually impossible, I would say, in this book. Like it's crazy, believe me. Like sexual assault when he was a child. He was used as a prostitute when he was a little child. He was abused in a monastery. He was abused by and held captive by a doctor. There's a lot. there's so much here, so much to unpack, but I cannot, of course, get into any of that. But yeah, so. But I think also on the other side of the coin, like the other part, like the part that I really feel strong about is that you still, I think personally, you have the moral duty to do something, to do everything in your power, actually, to try and help the person that you really care about. Like, yes, this might actually eventually, end up making him hate you in that sense, or like something like that. But it is also in your moral duty, I think, to just try and help the person. I don't know. I think it's very like stupid to just stand by and let this person that you love just hurt himself so much. But it's very difficult. It's not an easy, it's not an easy topic, and it's not something easy that you can like solve. And eventually, as I said, like, it is what they do. They do try, and they also, you know, bring him to the hospital. Like, they force him to go to therapy eventually. And they also do reflect in the book on whether they should have done something more and something earlier, which further shows that complexity, I think, of the issue of these situations in general. So yeah, another big topic is grief, of course. It's a very big one, even though it materializes itself like mostly towards the end of the book. But here is where I want to put even a bigger spoiler alert. What the fuck do you mean that Willem dies in an accident? Like, I did not expect that at all. I cried so much, and it was honestly even worse because it was the entire time you can sense while you're reading the book that Jude is not gonna make it. Jude is gonna die. Jude is there's no saving, Like, he eventually is gonna do something crazy and is gonna kill himself. But never once in the movie, what in the book, I've ever thought like that he was like William was gonna die before Jude. And it's also in the most stupid and awfully realistic way. William simply dies in an accident. He gets killed in an accident, and it's very unexpected. He comes out of the blue, and also he comes at the worst moment ever, because after William and Jude actually started dating each other in their 40s. Like, these two start off as incredible friends, always loved each other, and then they become lovers. But also, I think the book explains itself saying that it's something that goes even beyond love, in a sense. It's something that is just, they're tied together. They love each other so much that it's not simply a relationship or a friendship or whatever it is. It transcends that. It goes even beyond that. And yes, so they finally decide to get together in their 40s, and it comes to that, like, they go through so many emotions, very, flawed relationship at first as well, so difficult to, like, have them, But William is the most patient guy ever, but he's also the most coward person ever when it comes to Jude. Like, he tries to know him so well, but he also is so always afraid to act, and Jude is the most cryptic and reserved person ever. So it's a very complicated relationship, but they they love each other so much, and they do eventually manage to get better, and to just they are each other's saving grace in a way. I mean, Willem doesn't have any particular issue, but Willem becomes the person that loves Jude truthfully, without any other interest in him, like beyond sex, beyond whatever. They actually don't even have sex at a certain point anymore, because Jude does not like sex, of course, for obvious reasons, but they are linked by simply pure love, and Jude has never felt anything like this before. And they get to this point where, like, they go beyond the fights that they had, the trauma and everything else. Jude finally is the second person ever he opens up to is Willem in his whole life. And when they get to that state where, like, they're finally good, Willem gets hit by a fucking truck. He gets killed by a truck. And yeah, what the fuck? Like, come on. This is even worse than I imagined, because I thought reading about Jude dying would have been a terrible thing to witness, of course, but oh no, it gets worse. Like, now I have to read Jude. Like, I have to read the book while Jude has to go through the grief of losing the love of his life, and the only person he could trust in his whole life, and the only person he opened up to after, ages and ages. And you have to go through this entire intense moment of grief that he never truly gets over, and um, you just see him get even like this is what I mean. Whenever you think he gets bad, the book gets even worse. You found out about all these things throughout the book about Jude, and you keep on like waiting for this thing to get even worse and worse and worse, and then it gets even worse, but in a even more unexpected way, and in a more tragic even way. Because yes, the main character dying, terrible thing, of course, but watching the main character have to go through having to go through the grief period of losing the love of their lives, and like slowly disintegrating himself even further because of that. It's just so bad, so heartbreaking, and just terrible stuff, terrible stuff. But yeah, and then of course he never truly, as I said, like he never truly manages to like get over the grief because he ends up actually killing himself in the end, 3 years after Willem's death. So, and that's how the book ends as well. So yeah, very. There's just no saving. This book is so depressing, man. But what a little life. What a little life. I think I like my little life. But yeah. I also want to praise the writing style here because it's so effective. I think the book takes a bit too long to take off. Maybe because it's so extensive and it's so long, but it does take a while to get into the full motion. But I think the narrative is super clever, revealing bits and pieces of like Jude's trauma. The more you get into the book, the more you dig into the book, the more you go on with the story, the more you get a bigger picture of what like who Jude is and why Jude acts in certain ways and why he's so traumatized, basically. And yeah, that is definitely what keeps you glued to the book the most. And I think also it's like carried out in a very smart way. The narration is chronological, of course. Like you go from the early stages of their friendships, like to their death, basically in their 50s. So yeah, you go through their entire lifespan. But it's often the chronological narration is often like interrupted by many flashbacks that are kickstarted by very small events or very small objects or whatever. Like something small kickstarts an entire flashback scene that reveals more nuance about the character in question or their motivations or their past, and everything else is like so well written. It's kind of like giving the stream of consciousness in a way by James Joyce, but except here the book is written as if someone is telling you a story, and you actually find out who the narrator is at the end of the book, which is, spoiler alert, one of the characters. Cannot say who it is because I want that's honestly one of the sweetest stories as well. But actually, to be fair, there's another chapter like this in the middle of the book, which really made you wonder what the hell is going on. I literally wrote on one of my notes, because I bookmarked this part. I was like, who the fuck is this person? Like, who is narrating now? Why am I in first person now? We've always been in third person. Why are we in first person now? But yeah. And another interesting fact about the narration is that sometimes you change the POVs throughout the story. Like, the narrator most times takes Jude's POV, like they take his side of the story, but at times it goes into Willem's POV, sometimes into JB's, sometimes into Malcolm, sometimes into Harold. So yeah, that also I think keeps the story very captivating and fresh, and overall a very intriguing book. So yeah, I think these are definitely some of the most difficult things to get through in terms of the book. Like, I think you really have to be ready to feel very low while reading this book, because it's so heartbreaking and so terrible, honestly. Like, you really think, oh my god, I cannot believe this person is so fucking unlucky. Like, the amount of bad things that happen to Jude is just impossible to think, to even fathom in a way. Like, it's just insane. You think, how unlucky do you have to be to go through these things? But if I have to be honest, I think there are many people who unfortunately are forever scarred by their past, and by things that have been done to them that they had no control over whatsoever. Their childhood being, unfortunately tainted by terrible, disgusting humans who should not be allowed to actually live. That's what I'm saying. And it's just heartbreaking to see also how sometimes these people take so long to just try to get better, and then it just happens that sometimes life brings you again to certain other people that reignite that same trauma and rebring you, like they bring you back to that very low point. So to whoever has gone through that, my positive thoughts go to you. You are super strong personally, and I, kind thoughts to you. A big hug. Yeah, honestly, very emotional book, I have to say. I never cried this much for a book, and I think I want to put it on my shelf now and never look at it for at least a year. But I already have another book that I'm gonna read next, and it's called All the Lovers in the Night. It's much shorter, like it's 200 pages, short and sweet story, so it should be a breeze. But yeah, here's this entire episode is to just prove to y'all that I also read, that I can in fact read. I know how to spell. I know how to read books, and I didn't go to school. Thank you very much. So, anyways, hope you guys have a more cheerful week. I know this episode might not cheer you up, but yeah, just slay the house down, boots, and keep on being positive, I guess. Try your best, and listen to my songs, and follow me on my social media, and just keep this gig going. Have a great week, and see you next week.